Anyone who reads my book, Losing Linda May, a Cancer Caregiving Memoir, will see that my family members all had very distinct personalities, which is normal. And during a medical crisis like the one that my mom was going through, those personalities get really amplified. What that meant for me as a primary caregiver for my mom was that I was constantly mediating a lot of different personalities and perspectives on whatever was occurring in that very moment. What's not stated in the book, at least not overtly, is that my mom was the great mediator of our family. So between my dad, my sister, my brother, me, my sister-in-law, my brother-in-law, the immediate family in general, extended family, she was the one who would always smooth things over. She always found common ground for us if we couldn't do it ourselves. She was also our communication hub. During my young adulthood, I rarely actually reached directly out to Leisha or directly out to Lance or even directly out to my dad. I would always just get information about what was going on in all their lives from my mom and then vice versa. My dad has always been a really good communicator in person, but he's not great at keeping in touch with people or keeping people updated. I think it's because my parents got together in high school and got married shortly after that. And so as they were developing themselves, they were doing it in tandem. So if one of them had a strength in an area where the other one had a weakness, that person just kind of took over that role in perpetuity, which meant that the person who had the weakness just never cultivated those skills. That's why my siblings and I never really reached out to my dad. He was not a reliable source of information. He was terrible about remembering dates like birthdays. He wasn't good at keeping in touch with us, so he didn't really know what was going on. And if he did, it was always just getting piecemeal information from my mom. So if we try to ask him something, it would just be like the game of telephone where you get some weird mangled version of what's happening in each other's lives. And so we just naturally gravitated to my mom. It was her strength. It was her skill set. So of course, that's where we went to. My mom being diagnosed with non-Hodgkin lymphoma and starting treatment was actually what brought us all together in a way where we would start directly reaching out to each other outside of my mom. And then that got even more so amplified after the cancer had metastasized to her brain and spinal cord, and she started this more aggressive treatment regimen. When I relocated home to be a primary caregiver for my mom, I not only took on that role and the role that she had at the family dental practice, but I also took over her role as the great central communicator and hub of the family. I definitely picked up the skill set of keeping in touch with people, remembering key days, understanding what's going on in their lives from my mom. I just am not remotely as good at it as she was because she was so interested in other people and really taking in information. I'm much more interested in giving information or sharing things, hence this book that I have written and hence this content that I'm producing. I'm much more of a talker than I am a listener, though I do try my best when I am listening. So as I became a primary caregiver, people naturally gravitated towards me instead of reaching out to my dad. But what that meant is that I also had to take on the role of a mediator because everyone was communicating with me and I had to be the one to smooth things over when there was some source of conflict. While I am a Libra, which are the astrological scales, I am not the best mediator because I tend to be pretty opinionated and I tend to gravitate towards people who share the same opinions as me, which is natural. But my mom, on the other hand, was one of those people who could just be so unbiased and neutral. She had the best poker face when it came to diplomacy. You truly had no idea where she herself stood in a situation, which allowed her to be the most effective mediator because you didn't feel like she was ever taking sides. She could just cut through straight to the point and resolve something in a way that I have never been able to do in my life. This is gonna sound really corporate, but being a primary caregiver for my mom was a real upskilling moment for me when it came to mediation. I had to learn how to be in the center of a lot of communication and outreach that was fueled by a lot of emotions in response to everything that was unfolding with my mom and how she was suffering and the care she was receiving. And so everyone around me was firing on all cylinders at all times, and all the communications were always charged in some way. And I had to figure out a way to respond at all times that wouldn't fuel the flame further. My success definitely varied because it always depended on how I was feeling in the moment. I was 26 for most of this experience. And so I was not the most mature human being. And I naturally, like I said before, gravitated to others who shared my strong opinions. So when I was responding, when I was flared up and really emotional, I was not very good at listening and responding in a way that would just settle things down and put people at ease. And a lot of times I would just kind of give up and just respond with really short messages and not engage in any way. So I was just being totally avoidant instead of actually responding thoughtfully. However, in the times when I had some modicum of inner peace, I was good at just listening and then responding in a way that could just quell whatever was going on. And I think the moment I included for August 4th in my book, when Leisha is really upset that Yvonne is being a phone Nazi and not letting her talk to my mom, is a perfect example of this. I listen and then I calmly remind her that I'm going to be back in Omaha soon and then she'll be able to talk to my mom again. Prior to being a primary caregiver for my mom, I would have fully jumped on that bandwagon with Leisha and started bitching about how, oh yeah, that's ridiculous that Yvonne's not letting you talk to mom, because I would have wanted to feel that camaraderie and that closeness with Leisha, but I just didn't see the point. And I had learned that from my mom, that you just don't have to engage in that way at all times. You can let things just wash over, not fuel them further, and just move on. It just helps everyone to be at peace and calm and not just even more riled up. Mediation does not come naturally to a lot of people. But when something really significant is going on, like someone going through cancer treatment, you have to bend and give a little bit, because there is just more important things going on. And it's already such a dramatic situation that no additional drama is needed. The next video I'll be releasing will be on August 6th, and I'll be talking about the life and death importance of anti-clotting devices. So hit subscribe, leave any questions in the comments. The link to the book is in the description, and I will see you all on the 6th.